Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. Today, we're going to try to tackle a real head scratcher.
Yeah.
This conversation about how information and energy and systems,
It's a good one.
yeah, they're all connected somehow.
Yeah.
And we've got some really fascinating source material here that really dives into whether information is like a thing. Is it a process?
Right.
Is it something even weirder than that?
Well, it's definitely not just about defining these terms,
Yeah.
It's about
What
how do we explore how these things might actually be
Yeah.
the building blocks of the entire universe.
Okay, so let's get into it.
Okay.
One of the first things that really caught my eye here
Yeah.
was this idea that information doesn't exist on its own.
Right.
It only becomes real when it's interacting with something else.
Yeah.
Kind of like how when you observe a quantum state,
Yeah.
it makes it collapse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like that whole
Yeah.
Schrodinger's cat thing, you
Right.
know? It's both alive and dead until you open the box and observe it.
Right.
So this material is suggesting that information might work in a similar way.
Okay.
It only kind of takes on a definite form when it's processed or observed by something or someone.
But hold on, wouldn't that mean that
Yeah.
the information in a book isn't really real until somebody reads it?
Wow.
That's kind of a wild thought.
It is a very radical concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it suggests that information is more like a potential
Okay.
just waiting to be unlocked through interaction.
Okay.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
You can read about a new skill,
Yeah.
but you don't actually understand it until you go and try it out.
Right.
Until you actually connect it to what you already know.
So the act of learning
Yeah.
is actually what makes it real for us.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
And it highlights the importance of context and perspective,
Okay.
because the same piece of information
Yeah.
can mean totally different things to different people, depending on who's interacting with it and how they're processing it.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
That fishing net analogy from the source material.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if the net's too loose,
Right.
you don't catch anything.
It's nothing.
But if it's too tight, nothing can flow through it.
It's a perfect illustration. Yeah. It suggests that information needs the right amount of structure
Right.
for it to be meaningful. Too
very
little
good point.
structure, and it's just noise.
Right.
Too much structure, and it's too rigid and inflexible.
Yeah, you need that sweet spot.
Exactly.
The balance
The sweet spot.
between structure and flow.
Yes.
Okay, so information becomes real through interaction.
Yeah.
And it needs that right balance of structure to be meaningful.
Right.
That leads to another big idea in this material.
Yeah.
It's saying that information,
Yeah.
not energy, might be the fundamental building block of everything,
That's right.
of the entire universe.
Yeah. It's a complete paradigm shift from how we typically think about the universe, because we always think of energy as being
Right.
the root cause of everything.
Right.
But this framework is suggesting that information actually structures potential,
Okay.
which then gives rise to energy.
Right.
And that energy then forms systems, and those systems create all things.
Hold on. So you're saying energy is actually an effect.
Yeah.
It's not the original cause.
That's the radical proposition here.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So it's like information is the architect.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, shaping and guiding the energy
Right.
to create the universe as we know it.
Yeah.
That is mind-blowing.
Yeah. It is a pretty mind-blowing idea.
But, okay, that raises a big question for me.
What's that?
If information needs a connection to become energy,
Yeah.
what sparked that very first connection?
Ooh.
What kicked off the whole process?
That is the paradox of the first connection.
Yeah.
And it's a question that has puzzled scientists and philosophers for ages.
Yeah,
But the source material kind of suggests that the universe might always be in flux,
okay.
with information constantly shifting
Okay.
and only becoming real when it structures into energy.
So no true beginning.
Yeah.
Just eternal restructuring.
Pretty much.
Whoa. Okay. That's a lot to wrap my head around.
I know it is.
It really challenges our
Yeah.
linear understanding of time
Yeah.
and causality.
Exactly.
Instead of a universe with a fixed beginning and an end.
Right.
It's like an ongoing process
Yeah.
of creation and transformation.
That's right.
And the past doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
Only the now of information structuring.
It's a whole new way of looking at things.
All right, we're already getting pretty deep here.
I know.
But
Yeah.
I'm ready to dive into those commandments of energy
Oh, yeah.
laid out in the source material.
Yeah.
These principles that govern how energy and information interact to to shape reality.
To shape reality.
What are some of the most mind-bending ones?
Well, one that really stands out to me is this idea that energy carries and transforms information,
Okay.
but it's not information itself.
So energy is like the delivery system.
It's like a radio wave
Yeah.
carrying a song.
Okay.
The wave itself is just energy, but the information creates the music.
So the information is the message.
Yeah, the information is the message.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what about this one?
Yeah.
The universe favors energy-efficient structures.
Yeah.
What are the implications of that?
Well, this suggests a drive towards optimization at every level of the universe,
Wow.
from the tiniest particles to galaxies.
Yeah.
So systems and structures that are good at utilizing energy efficiently,
Yeah.
they're the ones that thrive.
Okay.
And the inefficient ones, they either collapse or they have to transform.
So it's kind of like natural selection,
Yeah,
but for all systems,
Right.
not just living things.
not just living things.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
I can already see how this could apply to like everything. From how we design our technology to
Yeah.
how we understand
Everything.
the evolution of the universe itself.
Exactly. And this is just the beginning.
Oh, wow.
There's so much to explore in terms of how these principles might play out in physics, in computation,
Yeah.
and even consciousness itself.
All right. Well, let's
Let's keep going.
let's keep going because
Yeah.
this is really interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
this is good stuff.
okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
ready.
When you are.
Yeah, let's jump back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
It really is a whole new way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And it leads to another really fascinating concept from the source material.
Okay.
This idea that energy only increases
Okay.
when a system can understand the information it contains.
Wait, so you're saying it's not enough to just have information?
Right.
A system actually has to be able to process and understand it
Yeah.
for the energy to increase.
That's the idea.
Wow.
The source material even uses words like awareness.
And understanding when it talks about how systems interact with information.
Okay.
So it's like saying that information isn't just passively sitting there.
Right.
It actually has to be interpreted and
Yeah.
integrated
Yeah, okay.
in order for it to have an energetic effect.
So a system that can't make sense of the information
Yeah.
that it has,
Right.
it wouldn't be able to use that potential energy.
Exactly.
Hmm.
It's kind of like,
Yeah.
imagine a computer trying to run a program,
Okay.
but it doesn't have the right software for it.
Right. It can't do anything.
Yeah, it can't do anything.
It's just a bunch of like ones and zeros
Exactly.
that don't make any sense.
It highlights this idea that information has to be meaningful
Okay.
to a system for it to be useful,
Right.
to translate into energy.
Okay.
And it brings us back to that idea of the universe as this
Yeah.
giant, ever-evolving
Yeah.
information processor.
Right.
As the universe learns and understands itself,
Right.
its energy increases, potentially driving further evolution and complexity.
That's wild.
Oh.
So you're saying like the universe is becoming more conscious
It's a fascinating thought.
as it goes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's processing more information.
Yeah.
It's understanding more,
Right.
and therefore maybe becoming more complex.
Okay. So this leads to like another massive question.
Yeah, what's that?
That was in the source material.
Okay.
If energy can't be created or destroyed,
Right.
does that same rule apply to information?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Because if information is like
Right.
so fundamental to creating energy
Yeah.
and everything else,
Yeah.
then wouldn't it make sense that it would also be subject to the laws of conservation?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
The source material argues that if information follows that same rule as energy
Yeah.
when it's connected to it,
Okay.
then all information must have always existed in some form, just like energy.
Yeah.
It's constantly shifting and reorganizing, but never truly created or destroyed.
So hold on. Is there anywhere in the universe
Hmm.
where information doesn't exist?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
The source material suggests that the only way information could be missing
Yeah.
is if it were completely unstructured,
Okay.
completely random.
Like pure chaos.
Yeah, imagine a state of pure chaos
Wow.
with no patterns
Yeah.
or meaning.
But it wouldn't even be like randomness contains some kind of information.
That's exactly the point.
Yeah.
It's still a state.
Right. It's still a condition.
It's a condition.
Yeah.
Even a vacuum in quantum physics
Right.
isn't truly empty.
Right.
It's got fluctuations. It's got potential.
Yeah.
It's got structure at the most fundamental level.
So even nothingness
Yeah.
is something.
It's like the fabric of space-time itself
Yeah.
is woven with information.
Okay.
There's no true nothingness.
Okay.
Only states of information that we might not yet be able to, like, perceive or process.
Okay, so if information is always there, always shifting and restructuring,
Yeah.
does that mean everything that could ever exist, every possible idea or event is already encoded somewhere in this sea of information?
Whoa. That feels a little bit like destiny, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the source material actually, like, dives into that whole debate.
Okay.
You know, that philosophical debate?
Right.
It kind of acknowledges that this framework does blur the lines between
Yeah.
physics and philosophy,
Yeah.
maybe even metaphysics.
Right.
It suggests that maybe the act of observing and interacting with the universe
Yeah.
actually helps bring information and therefore energy and reality into being.
Okay.
But it stops short of making any, like, definitive claims about destiny or free will.
So we're not just passive observers.
Yeah.
We're active participants.
Yeah, we're participants.
In the creation of reality.
I like that.
I like that idea too.
Yeah.
But okay, even if we accept all this,
Yeah.
that information is fundamental
Right?
and potentially eternal.
Yeah.
How do we go from these grand concepts to something more concrete?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we need more than just philosophical speculation, right?
Right. How do we actually understand the mechanisms at play?
Yeah, we need a way to actually measure it.
Okay.
Like the source material points out,
Okay.
in order to really grasp how information gives rise to energy,
Yeah.
we need a mathematical framework to describe it.
Okay.
We need to be able to quantify and measure this relationship.
So are we talking about some kind of equation
Yeah.
that like relates energy to information?
Yeah, something that shows how one transforms into the other.
Wow.
Yeah, it would be groundbreaking
Yeah.
to find a formula like that.
Yeah, that could explain how
Oh, yeah.
information density relates to energy states.
Exactly. And what if there's like a fundamental unit of information?
Oh, wow.
Something analogous to quanta of energy.
Okay.
That would be huge.
That would be a revolutionary discovery.
It would be revolutionary.
To actually be able to calculate
Yeah.
how much energy a piece of information could generate.
Think about it.
That's
I
mind-blowing.
know.
It could change our understanding of like
Everything.
how stars are born,
Yeah.
how our own brains function.
Absolutely.
Before we get too carried away, though,
Yeah.
I want to go back to that idea that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
This idea that information doesn't really exist.
Okay.
It's always becoming.
Right.
It's only realized when it's expressed or observed.
That's where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
Right? Because that aligns with that whole idea of quantum superposition,
Right.
where particles exist in a state of potentiality
Yeah.
until they're measured.
Right.
It's like information itself
Yeah.
is in a constant state of flux,
Okay.
a superposition of states until something forces it to collapse into a defined form.
So it's not like information is stored somewhere
Right.
waiting to be accessed. It's more like it's constantly being created
Yeah, it's constantly being created.
through interaction and observation.
Think of the universe not as a giant hard drive
Right.
storing all these fixed bits of information,
Okay.
but as like a dynamic interactive web
Okay.
where information is constantly being woven and rewoven as energy interacts with itself.
So information isn't a static thing.
Right.
It's an ongoing process.
It's a process.
But what determines when and how this information gets realized?
Good question.
What makes it exist in a meaningful way?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And you know what the source material calls it?
What's that?
A trick question.
A trick question. Why?
Well, because if information doesn't actually exist until it's realized,
Right.
then there can't be a fixed rule
Right.
for when or how it appears.
It's kind of like asking what causes something to come from nothing.
Exactly.
It like breaks our brains.
It breaks our brains. It challenges our linear cause and effect understanding of the universe.
Right.
So the source material suggests that maybe the act of questioning,
Okay.
observing and interacting with the universe
Right.
is what actually helps bring information and therefore energy and reality into being.
So we're not just observing.
Right.
We're causing it
We're participating in it.
to happen by observing.
Yeah, we're not just passive bystanders. We're
Mhm.
active participants.
That's wild.
I know it's a pretty radical idea.
Okay, so we might not have like a definitive answer
Right.
to how this realization happens.
Yeah.
But I remember that story
Oh, yeah.
from the source material
Yeah.
about the boy weaving the fishing net.
Oh, yeah. What a great story.
That really resonated with me
Yeah.
because that felt like a really powerful metaphor
I agree.
for this whole process.
What did you take away from it?
Well, for me, the boy's journey with the net
Yeah.
it kind of beautifully illustrated the balance between structure and flow,
Right.
which seems to be so essential for information to become something real,
Yeah, exactly.
something tangible.
Right. Remember at first his net's too loose?
Yeah.
Too unstructured?
Yeah. He catches nothing.
Catches nothing.
It's pure potential, but without like
Yeah.
form or function.
It's all potential, no realization.
Then he goes to the opposite extreme.
Right.
Makes the net too tight.
Too rigid.
Yeah, too rigid.
And again, he fails.
Yeah.
Because there's no flow.
No interaction.
No interaction.
Yeah.
It's only when he finds that sweet spot.
Right.
You know, a net that's structured enough to hold something.
Right.
But open enough to allow flow.
Yes.
That he can actually catch the fish.
That he's successful.
Right.
It's such a simple analogy.
I know.
But it really brings this complex idea down to earth.
It does.
And it makes it understandable.
That's a great point.
So what about the end of the story?
Yeah.
Where he weaves the whole world with this net.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite part.
What'd you make of that?
Well, to me, it suggests that once we understand this principle
Yeah.
of balancing structure and flow,
Right.
we gain the ability to shape reality itself.
Wow.
We can catch and create anything we can imagine
Anything.
if we learn how to weave the right kind of net.
So it's not about starting with a rigid plan.
Right.
Or set of rules.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding how to structure information in a way that allows for, like,
Emergence.
creativity, evolution.
Was it beautiful?
It is beautiful.
I mean-
And this isn't just a philosophical extraction.
Right.
The source material actually goes on to outline some practical application.
Okay, let's get into that.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was thinking about. Like, how do we actually apply this
For sure.
to the real world?
It suggests that this understanding of information and
Mhm.
energy
Yeah.
could revolutionize everything from physics
Okay.
and energy systems
Yeah.
to computation
Yeah.
and even our understanding of consciousness.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
Let's get practical.
Let's get practical.
Okay, so let's get practical here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Where do we actually see this information energy connection playing out,
Right.
in the real world?
Yeah.
The source material mentions some pretty wild possibilities for physics and energy systems.
Oh, yeah, some really mind-bending stuff.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if we could harness energy,
Yeah.
not by burning fuel or splitting atoms,
Okay.
but by tapping into the flow of information itself.
Okay, now that sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it?
How would that even work?
Well, think back to that fishing net analogy.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
We could create dynamic energy systems
Okay.
that work just like that perfectly balanced net,
Right.
constantly adapting to the environment
Yeah.
and pulling energy from informational imbalances.
So instead of generating energy,
Yeah.
we're like cultivating it
Yeah, kind of like we're guiding it, shaping it
through information.
through information.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a pretty radical shift in how we think about it.
It really is.
What are some other examples?
Well, we could potentially tap into energy sources that we haven't even thought of yet,
Okay.
like using those quantum fluctuations,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
or maybe even harnessing the energy
Yeah.
that's released when information collapses
Right.
from a state of possibility into a defined form.
So it's like we'd be creating a whole new type of energy economy,
Exactly.
one based on information
Yeah, one based on information and its flow.
and its flow. Wow.
And the implications go way beyond just energy generation.
Like what?
Well, imagine quantum energy transfer,
Okay.
sending energy instantaneously,
Across like huge distances.
huge distances with no loss.
Okay, hold on. Now that would be a game changer.
It would be a game changer.
Space travel without massive fuel tanks.
Right.
Instant communication across the globe.
Yeah.
Powering our homes and cities with no wires.
Imagine a world.
Without fossil fuels.
Yeah, a totally clean and sustainable energy future.
That sounds pretty amazing.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
Let's talk about computation,
Okay.
artificial intelligence.
All right. AI is already changing the world so fast.
It is.
But if we start building AI
Yeah.
based on these principles
Oh, man.
of information as a dynamic force,
Yeah.
this is where things get really exciting.
The potential is huge.
Yeah.
We're talking about adaptive algorithms
Okay.
that learn and evolve in real time.
So not just following pre-programmed rules.
No. They're constantly
Yeah.
weaving and reweaving solutions
Based on new information.
based on the information they're processing.
So AI that's more like a living organism.
Yeah, like a living organism.
that can actually think for itself.
Exactly.
Okay.
Imagine a network of these AI systems
Okay.
all communicating and collaborating,
Right.
constantly optimizing their performance.
Based on the knowledge of the entire network.
The collective knowledge of the network.
Like a global brain.
Yeah, a global brain.
Constantly evolving.
Constantly evolving.
Solving problems in ways that we can't even imagine.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
It is a little crazy.
So we'd be creating like a new form of life.
Yeah.
But based on information instead of biology.
Oh, yeah, that's a really profound way to put it.
Wow. Okay, so that leads us to like maybe the most profound implication of all.
Yeah, what's that?
How does all this
Right.
change the way we see
Yeah.
biological systems?
Right.
Especially our own brains and consciousness.
Right. Now we're getting to the good stuff.
If information is the fundamental building block of reality,
Yeah.
what does that even mean for us as humans?
Yeah, what does it mean for our sense of self?
Yeah, for what it means to be human.
Right.
I don't know if I'm ready for those answers.
Well, this new perspective offers some really mind-bending possibilities. Like, what if our brains aren't just storage units for memories and experiences?
Right.
What if they're actually dynamic energy systems that are constantly structuring and restructuring information to create our thoughts, our emotions, our sense of self?
So our brain is not like a static organ. It's like
Yeah.
a constantly shifting, evolving
Yeah.
information field.
Yeah, almost like an information field.
I like that.
And if that's the case, then consciousness itself
Yeah.
could be seen as this dynamic process
Okay.
of information weaving.
Okay.
A constant flow of energy and information.
Mainly our experience of
That's
reality.
being our reality.
That's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
It's like our minds are weaving the fabric of reality.
Yeah,
Just like that boy with his net.
just like the boy with his net.
And this could totally change how we think about things.
Learning.
Creativity, even
Can
free
we-
will.
So we're not just products of our genes
Right.
and our environment.
They're not just passive products.
We're active participants
Right.
in creating our own reality.
That's a very empowering thought.
It is empowering.
And I think that's the core message
Yeah.
of this whole deep dive.
You know, understanding how information and energy
Yeah.
interact to create everything around us.
It gives us a new level of awareness.
It does.
Yeah.
And a new sense of agency.
To shape the world
Yeah.
that we live in.
To shape our own lives and the world that we live in.
That's amazing.
I think it's pretty amazing.
So what's the takeaway for everybody listening?
We'll take these ideas and run with them.
Yeah. Explore, question.
Explore questions.
See where they lead you.
Yeah, see where they lead you.
This is just the beginning
It is just the beginning.
of a whole new way
Yeah, a whole new way.
of looking at the universe
Yeah,
and our place within it.
it's exciting.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive
Yeah, thanks for being here.
into the world of information, energy, and systems.
Absolutely.
Keep questioning,
Keep questioning.
keep exploring,
Keep exploring.
and keep weaving your own reality.
Yeah, weave those realities.